one's here. All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Service and Aging Committee meeting Wednesday, May 1st. We're in spring, you guys. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll for Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Anyone signed in for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have public comment. Lou?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Lou is here, of course, to support all our ARPA funds projects, especially to support any fundings for homeless services, like our rapid housing for Eden and our shelter operations for LMM and so forth. However, here I would like to address the issue with the funding. With the funding granted, even though all organizations will give you a budget, how they will appropriate all this money, but we know the total dollar amount is still not sufficient. Let's think about the same committee meeting back in March 6. Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Sweeney both asked good questions. Right now, I will answer the questions you actually directed to YWCA at that time. You ask, how was the night shift going? At that time, the CEO reported to you that mostly peaceful. Guess what? 4 days right before that meeting, March 2nd, that early morning, when I and one of my cellmates sleeping in the basement with me to go to Ohio State House in Columbus for Poor People's Campaign's event, that was nighttime, even right before 6 a.m., still considered third shift. We had an incident so big that we had to get the police involved. Now you ask, people's belongings, are they secured? No, actually throughout the last 6 months, we have a particular person, her name is Crystal Jones, working there, keep throwing people's stuff out, no matter what. In the past, we had some people came to the shelter because the apartment building was on fire. They salvaged whatever possible they could to come to stay in the shelter for the time being. They were forced to throw out the family heirloom last 2 photo albums of the family. There are lots of things, yes, they do occupy the space in the shelter, limited space, we know that. But people do not encounter coming to a shelter, actually, you become not human. Everything for your well-being, physical well-being, and your mental well-being, and your emotional well-being will all be stripped down. So now, talking to the renovation at 2227 Payne Avenue at this moment, I have been talking about having ARPA funds to demolish the building to rebuild. Well, unfortunately, the funds was not appropriate that way completely, so now we will have a problem like this. They want to install an elevator in the building. Sounds nice, right? But I already said that. Electrical issue, internal leaking will cause problem. That's why right now, they have no way to resolve that issue. That will cost extra funding. So why not to give the funding really needed to begin with, instead of later hearing me telling you all the things not going right as planned, then we have to regret the money got wasted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else?
No, that concludes our public comment.
All right, thank you. We have approval of the minutes from the April 3rd, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Turner, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, there's several matters referred to the committee today. We're going to go out of order. We have presentations that I would like to expedite to the top of the agenda. We are delighted to welcome Ms. Treslyn Butler Sharp, which is the Director of Social Services for Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Many of council and the administration have traveled down to several jail sites, and Franklin was one of them, and we met Ms. Butler Sharp. We were very inspired by what we saw in terms of food, programming, the humanistic part, if you're talking about when individuals need to be incarcerated. And that is what we are moving toward in Cuyahoga County. So the administration has offered different jail tours, and they were one of the dynamic ones that I went to. And so I wanted to welcome her to share with everyone here and those that are watching what we aspire to be like. So welcome.
Wow. How do I present after that, right? Thank you so much, Councilwoman Conwell, for having me here. It was nice to be able to drive down on a sunny day to present to you all. I have to say before I start my presentation that I stand here by myself, but understand that there's an entire village that gets this done. And that village includes my staff. I have to say, I use the word dope a lot, so don't mind me, but I have one of the dopest staff in the United States, right? I would put them up against anyone. Just some very compassionate people that do the work every day and have a heart for the work that they do. Along with them, I have a chief that is super supportive in getting this work done. Our county commissioners don't just talk about it, they're really about the work, and so that also helps as well. So it would have been remiss of me to start a presentation without acknowledging those folks who are in the trenches with me every day.
Can you state your name for the record?
Truslyn, I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Truslyn Butler Sharp.
Thank you.
So with the presentation, I heard a quote, it's been maybe about a year and a half or 2 years ago from Memphis's Police Director Davis. Her quote was, "Culture eats policy for lunch." And so she said that she hears this quote often as it refers to law enforcement agencies. And I think that it is a great quote to start this presentation out with, just because we're so used to some of the mundane things that we do within corrections, and that culture can eat policy changes for lunch unless you do something to change the culture first before you start to implement some of these things that we're doing in Franklin County and that other folks are doing across the United States as well. I took a picture of my signs that I have hanging on my wall that say grind, hustle, and execution, because I'm a big visual person. And so I have to walk in every day and remember that it's time to grind, it's time to hustle, and along with that grinding and hustling, like, you have to execute some plans in order to make this stuff happen so that we can return people better to society than what we were when we found them. When I came into my role about 4 years ago as the Director of Social Services, prior to that, I was a deputy sheriff for 15.5 years. And so coming into the role, I sat with the chief, and one of the first things I asked him is, I said, okay, well, what's the mission and vision for social services? He said, we don't have one. I said, okay, well, we're gonna have one. So we started with our mission and vision, and then also created a value statement. I'm not gonna read our mission and vision to you, but I think that our value statement is pretty powerful, and we came up with it as a collective. So our value statement is, our value lies in recognizing that today's incarcerated individual is tomorrow's neighbor. We are committed to promoting diversity, equity, inclusion, and access in our rehabilitative programming by striving to help incarcerated individuals reintegrate into society as better neighbors. We actively contribute to building more cohesive and compassionate communities. In addition to our mission, vision, and value statements, we have some commitments as a department in terms of the reduction of recidivism and our community partnerships, which are invaluable to our success as a department. I thought that it was important to just give you all a brief snapshot of what we're working with within our facility. When I created this PowerPoint, it was before the initial visit. And so our average length of stay at that time was 139 days for the people that were incarcerated. Our population at FCCC 2, which we affectionately call the Pike, was 1,442 folks. We had 251 women, 1,191 men. As far as staffing goes for us, at that facility, I have 6 correctional program specialists. Our correctional program specialists are our frontline folks that facilitate programs. We have 1 correctional program coordinator. I like to call them the quarterback of our team. They're in charge of bringing in new programs and also looking at the efficacy of our programming on behaviors within our facility. And they pretty much get everything else that comes down the pike as well, in terms of just turning the ship and things that we need that are new and innovative. We have 1 supervisor at the Pike, and then we have a chaplain that works at both facilities, and we have an interfaith chaplain team to support him, which are community volunteers that come in from all denominations to help our chaplain out, since it's just him. As far as classroom spaces, at our Jackson Pike facility, where the bulk of our population is housed, we have just 2 centralized classrooms, and we have 1 therapeutic community. Oftentimes, as we travel and we talk about programming and spaces and things like that, I hear a lot that we don't have the space to do this. What I've found is that you can create programming in any space that you want to. Before we moved into our new facility, we were at the main jail, which was just an old, antiquated facility. We turned a hallway into a classroom space. And so it's about what you're determined to get done sometimes versus the actual space that you have to do it. For our population at the Jack, which is our new facility that everyone loves to talk about, and people love to talk about it, rightfully so, because it's pretty amazing. Y'all should come check it out, not as folks coming in, but just as a visitor to see it. At that facility, we have 254 men. That facility has single cells right now, mental health, and maximum security housing. At that facility, I have 7 correctional program specialists, a coordinator, a supervisor, and then that same chaplain that also works at the Pike. As far as classroom space, in phase 1, we have 2 centralized classrooms, and then we have a classroom in each housing unit. In phase 2A, we have 4 centralized classrooms and also a classroom in each housing unit. I started with what we have, and then went back to just some interesting facts, because I stand here today talking about all of the classroom space that we have and all of the wonderful staff that I have. But 4 years ago, we had 6 correctional program specialists, 1 chaplain, and 1 supervisor for both of our facilities that had an average daily population of 1796 or higher. We had around 30 programs and workshops, but since then, we've tripled our staff, doubled our program offerings. In 2023, we responded to 14,473 call cards. What call cards are, incarcerated folks call them kites, but it's just requests for services and information, whether that's services as it applies to reentry and rehabilitation, or even just things to keep them productively occupied. During 2023, we also had 4,419 participants in our program, or in our programs. So when someone gets arrested in Franklin County, they're classified at their 72-hour mark. Once they're classified at their 72-hour mark, they're given one of these program booklets that I gave to all of you. This has all of our programs listed in it. In addition to that, it has some community resources in the back. It has a map of the criminal justice system. And then on the very back cover, it has a list of all of social services staff and their telephone numbers in case they need to be contacted by family members. Once they're classified and they receive this information, they have the option to turn in call cards to receive services as far as programming goes. Once they turn in that call card, they are then given an assessment by one of my team members, and they're provided with these programming tracks just to kind of gauge where they need to be in their rehabilitative process. The programming tracks includes the name of the program and the dosage hours as well, and has a little handy checkbox so that they can easily keep track of them. One of the things that we do a little bit different in Franklin County, so we have 2 therapeutic communities, one at our older facility and then another one that is at the Jack. Our therapeutic communities are called Better Neighbors. The community was named Better Neighbors because one of my favorite quotes is, "Today's inmate is tomorrow's neighbor." And so my staff came up with the name of Better Neighbors, and our goal is to return better neighbors into society. So we have 51 men involved right now. The community at The Pike is recovery-based, and it's geared towards the lower-level incarcerated individuals. The community at the Jack is cognitive behavioral intervention-based, and it's geared towards higher-level incarcerated individuals. We started our first TC in July of 2022 and the second in March of 2023. For anyone in the room that may be just corrections-minded or security-minded, what I will tell you about these therapeutic communities is that since the inception of them, we have had 0 use of forces. We've had 3 altercations, none of which required of use of force. And for the most part, they don't receive tickets. In our communities, the men have to be awake at 8 o'clock in the morning. They're in group by 8:30, and they program all day. I tell them it's practice for a job. And so TVs don't come on in the community until after work is over. In addition to that, they also have rules and regulations on how they're dressed, and also just basic parameters around the programming order that they have to program in. One of my favorite things that we do are our pro-social activities. With our pro-social activities, we don't do anything that's super different. We just kind of reimagine what programming looks like in some ways. So the pictures that you have here are a part of an initiative that we do around Christmas time for our folks that participate in parenting. We have a community member who was formerly incarcerated that helps us with fundraising. We fundraise, we put up an Amazon wish list, and we set up toy stores in our jails in both facilities. And our folks that are incarcerated that are parents are able to go and shop for their children. And so they go into the areas, they shop for their children. We have volunteers that come up and set up a gift wrapping station, like the old Lazarus gift wrapping stations. And so our folks are able to shop, then take their toys to the gift wrapping station and get their gifts wrapped, and they write a letter to their children to go with their gifts as well. Another pro-social activity that we do, you see the piece of artwork on the side, that is from a group called Peace Love. It's an expressive arts group. What Peace Love does is it allows for people to find peace of mind in the moment. One of our slogans is make stuff feel better. And so we teach people skills, basically, so that they can cope when they're released. Some of the folks, both men and women that we have never used puffy paint. And so just basic things like that. And I'm like, you've never used puffy paint. Like, this is like the hot sauce of crafting. You put this on everything, right? And so just having moments like that where they're learning new things and able to develop skills that will take them further once they're out and they just start to encounter the complexities of the world. Also in this picture, you'll see Dr. E. I believe Dr. E is actually from Cleveland, but she's a professor. Yeah, at Ohio State. She's so amazing.
She is.
Oh my gosh. So she comes and she pours into our women and she does her one-woman show. We also purchase books from her, and she comes and autographs those. And so that's a picture of her doing that. The picture at the bottom is another pro-social activity that we have called Aunt Mary's Storybook, where some volunteers from a local church come in, again, for our folks that are in parenting, allow them to read a book on recorder to their children, and then they mail those out with the reading. So I kept my presentation fairly short in case you all have questions, more questions about what we do in Franklin County. That's that.
We have 2, can you explain the 2 different?
Handbooks, yes. So the first handbook that you have one that's for the Jack. That's the community that's more CBI based. And so what you'll see in that one is that the mission statement is just slightly different because we're addressing repeat offenders at the Jack. Like, these are men that have more serious charges, more often times they're violent crimes. And so we just address things a bit different, and the schedule's a little bit different in there as well. The one that's for Franklin County Correction Center 2 is our programming that's more recovery-based, and so you are required to have a substance use or abuse issue in order to participate in that community.
All right. Councilman, do you have any questions? Yes, Councilman Miller.
So, Madam Chair, first of all, I would like to just thank you very much for being willing to come up from Columbus to share with us today. There is a great need here for improving our programming for people while incarcerated, and the information that you're providing will be extremely valuable. The the question that I want to ask about is about the religious services. What different religious groups do you have represented in the correctional facilities, and how do you handle the need to be able to serve people with a variety of different backgrounds?
So I would say that the biggest religious groups that we have are Muslim. We have a lot of Muslim folks. And then we also have non-denominational services that we provide as well for folks. In an effort for us to be able to provide services and just religious items to everyone, we do things like we have kufis, we have prayer rugs, we have prayer services on Friday for our Muslim folks. We have imams that come in from the community. We have 3 of them that provide those services. We then have non-denominational services multiple times a week at both facilities. When I talk to you about just reimagining some things, week before last, one of our non-denominational churches came in and we had a praise and worship service. And so they brought in guitars and drums and just all of the things to provide that service for folks. And so whatever people's religious needs are, we assess them at the time. If it's not in our chaplain's wheelhouse and no one on our interfaith chaplain team can address that issue, then we'll reach out to other community members to make sure that they're properly taken care of and their religious needs are properly taken care of.
Madam Chair, to the presenter, have you seen much interreligious conflict at the correctional facility?
No.
You're fortunate. I think we have a lot of it in this country, and not just in correctional facilities. So I'm glad that that aspect is going well so far.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Butler Sharp, can you speak a little to the phone services? I thought that was always has been an issue up here for incarcerated individuals, and so can you share the usage that they have, or the availability that they have for the phone services when they want to reach out to their lawyers or to their family members?
So our phone services really are twofold. We have phones within our housing units that they're able to use, and our commissioners have a commitment to keeping our phone rates fairly low. But in addition to that, when you mention reaching out to attorneys and things like that, social services facilitates a lot of those phone calls. And so if we have someone that's having trouble contacting their attorney, or even family members, sometimes there's a language barrier and folks on the other end don't know how to use the phone service or don't know how to connect to their family member that's incarcerated. Social services steps in and will bring them to an office or to a space to facilitate those phone calls for them.
And in terms of the snacks that are, the additional snacks that are provided for the individuals?
We use snacks as incentives because everybody likes to eat. I know I do. And so what we do is we just get things that they don't have access to on their normal commissary list. And so just an example of that is shebangs. It's just a super popular snack item, but they don't have access to it normally on commissary. And so we'll use those things as incentives for contests or as rewards for graduation and things like that. And we just try to make sure that we keep a variety of things to keep them engaged so that it's different than what they typically can get on their own.
Councilwoman, you had any questions?
Yes. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
to
How are
see
you?
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you. I had a question about the program assessments. So walk us through an intake. An inmate is incarcerated, and then they go through this orientation process. Take us through that process.
So for us in our department, someone's incarcerated. Let's say you want to participate in programs, for example. We provide services on demand, I like to say, like just upon request. And so we post flyers, and we post our flyers through the tablets. So you know that whenever a program's coming up, you know you have about a 2-week window to sign up. They then fill out a call card request, send that back to us, and then we'll just evaluate to see if they're eligible for the program, whether it's keep separate, security level, things like that.
So everyone has access to a tablet?
Our tablets are 1 for every 4 right now, so everyone does not have their own individual tablets. But we also are pretty engaged with like letting people know when things are going on and things like that. So let's say you're wanting to take parenting, for example, but you haven't had access to a tablet in a while. If you call card us and say, hey, I want to take parenting, we'll let you know when the next parenting is coming up, and we'll send that paper back directly to you. So even if you don't have access to the tablet, we would still have those lines of communication open. But once you sign up for programming, we have a module that we call IMAX programs that we keep all of this information in. And so we keep our program list, and we also keep our wait list in IMAX programs. And so we go down through, see who's eligible, and vet them, assign them to a program. Because my staff is so small compared to our population, we don't assess until after you've started programming. And so I have one person at each facility that does assessments, and we use the Wisconsin screener right now. And I think that we may be changing here in a little bit, but right now we use Wisconsin, and they'll do the assessment and let the person know where they fall and provide them with programming tracks so that way they can continue to track and take programs when they're posted.
So do they receive, let's say they leave and they want verification that they went through these certain trainings? Do you provide those?
We do. We provide certificates, and we also upload them into IMAX, into our module. So in the event that someone gets out and they lose them, they can always call back and ask us for them, and we can provide them.
Okay. And so because folks are always getting out at different times, and I think the judge might be the first to know when they're getting out. Can you talk about when you know someone is getting ready to go home, what that looks like, getting them prepared to leave back into the world?
Man, it's a lot of work. And when I say it's a lot of work, like it becomes a 24-hour job. So an example I'll give you of that is last Thursday, one of the men from our therapeutic community was found not guilty. And he was found not guilty of murder, right? So a pretty serious charge. And so I had someone that texted me at like 6 o'clock at night, like, hey, he was found not guilty. And it's just immediately putting plans into motion. I called one of my staff members that's there until 8. We also stagger our shifts. I failed to mention that. So I have staff members that are in the building from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday. And so I called the gentleman that I knew was there, and I said, hey, go see him now and see if he has a plan and call me back. And he talked about what he thought that his plan would be and just like some of his apprehension to being released. I then connected him with a peer that we have that works on our team that's paid for through the Office of Justice Policy and Programs, because she has the ability to transport and things like that on the outside that my staff doesn't have. He told us about his needs, and so we connected him with the Rapid Resource Center as well. And so we just made like a fluid plan. Okay, we know that you're getting released. We know you're going to your grandmother's home. So we know you have somewhere to live right now, but we know that employment and housing is also a big deal. We know that you need benefits. So as soon as you leave here, the Rapid Resource Center is your first stop. And so we just gave him very detailed instructions. Stop at the Rapid Resource Center. That's going to be the place you get your benefits. Tonight, you're at your grandmother's house. Tomorrow, Ms. Carr will contact you and we'll start working on employment. And you having your own housing so that you can get back out on your own 2 feet. And so it's a 24-hour job, and putting those things in motion. Do people slip through the cracks? Absolutely, because we're not there 24/7. But when we're there and we know, it's our obligation to make it happen for them.
Absolutely. But thank you for that, and thank you for driving up. Appreciate having you.
You're welcome.
So you said, Ms. Butler Sharp, that was from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., only Monday through Friday?
Yes,
And any staff there on the weekends?
only the chaplain.
Can you share a little bit about the Rapid Release Center? I thought that was an awesome piece that we saw as well.
The Rapid Resource Center is amazing. It is run by our Office of Justice Policy and Programs, and essentially it's a one-stop shop for all all of the things that you can think of that are barriers to reentry. And so if someone gets released and they want to go straight to treatment, they can go to the Rapid Resource Center and they can sit in there and charge their phone while they wait for a treatment provider to pick them up. If someone is getting released and they need housing, they can go to the Rapid Resource Center and receive the housing that they need. An example of that I'll give you is we had a gentleman that was homeless and he was released to house arrest. And so I'm not sure how that was supposed to work, but we connected him with the Rapid Resource Center and they have a bridge program. They gave him a bridge until they can get him into sober living. And so it's just a phone call and a stop, and it's just any resource that you can imagine, from community healthcare providers to our local urban league, to all of the other normal partners with correction systems that you can think of, like our community mental health providers. Like, they're all in that space to be able to help someone that's seeking help once they're released.
And you mentioned the Urban League. So for those community partners, is that a financial kind of contractual agreement, or is just volunteer-based for some of them?
You know, I'm not 100% sure what their agreements look like with the Office of Justice Policy and Programs. With us and the programs that you see in this program booklet and our community providers, some of them are contracted providers and then some are volunteers. The bulk are actually volunteers.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Anything additional that you'd like to share with us? And I know the captain down there said he would be most willing to help us with anything that we need as we go through this journey, trying to establish what I've seen thus far, a good programming for humanity, everything that you want to give an individual. In terms of the young, the individual that found out that he was innocent, does your Justice Policy Office assist individuals like that with getting their record cleared and all that to get it out of the, that's another whole nightmare.
Yeah.
When people are incarcerated and they've served their time and they come out and they still have this baggage that hinders them.
We have community providers that do assist with that, not specifically the Office of Justice Policy and Programs, though.
Well, that's a good thing. All right. Well, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Have a safe journey back. We will definitely stay connected. You'll probably, the community, no, he's not at Community Solutions anymore. Will Tarter has moved on to LMM. He would definitely probably want your information, because usually he'll come up and ask me questions later, and so I just wanted to connect them. But Maria, would you have any questions I can connect you to? So that, raise your hand, Maria, so she'll probably value your information. Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries have worked with us with individuals that are reentering society. They're moving into the housing realm, so they might benefit from your connection.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The only thing that I would leave you with is, as you all are changing and just reimagining what you do, is to remember that reentry starts when folks walk in the door. And so that's our mindset, that's our motto. When they walk into our facility, that's when the process starts, not after they've been there for 6 or 7 months. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you. Yes, you can clap. You can clap. That was awesome. Okay, reentry as soon as they come in the door. I'm writing that down. All right, so we will move to our next presentation. Cuyahoga County was very fortunate in the aftermath of COVID with ARPA funds, and so we each had funding that we could utilize for specific programs. And so I have made, of all my contributions thus far, I have set up a reporting, so to speak, of how those funds have worked well in the community. So in some of the committees going forward over the summer, you will be able to hear some of those that have impacted District 7 and some of our county programs. So without further ado, I will bring up Robert Kearney from Cleveland Housing Solutions, Community Housing Solutions. Welcome, and please state your name for the record.
Thank you.
And you can share with them,
it's
what all
such a-
you did.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much. My name is Roger Kearney. I am the controller for Community Housing Solutions, a nonprofit that's been around about 50 years, helping folks obtain and maintain affordable housing. So that's what we do. So we do that with a housing counseling program. We have a tool loan program for City of Cleveland residents, and we also have a home repair program for qualified individuals. We can do a multitude of things, and Councilwoman Conwell has called on us for years to do this and that here and there, and particularly her husband has me on speed dial. I've gone to many parties with him on Saturday nights, and we're giving away some roofs, right? You get a roof and you get a roof. Here, talk to my friend. And so he calls me on Saturday night and says, "Here's my phone. Here, talk to this person, and then go put a roof on their house." All right, well, it was an honor to get an ARPA grant from you. Thank you for that. But once you get the grant, you actually have to go do some work. And so we'll talk about some of that work that got done right during the time. So I've got some pictures of some things that we did. So this first one is my favorite. So this is a house that was crumbling, right? The porch and the roof, needed replaced probably 5 years before we did it. But unless you did one, you couldn't do the other. So we had trouble putting together the dollars. And so, the money that we received from Councilwoman Conwell was particularly effective in addressing this issue. We still had to get dollars from other funding sources, but through funding from the City of Cleveland, as well as some dollars that we secured from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati, we were able to do $45,000 worth of work at this house. So, you couldn't paint the house. The house needed painted too. That was a code violation that needed to be corrected, but there wasn't enough there to be able to paint, right? So we needed to side that, and so that's what we did. So that's, a great, that was a great job for us. One of my favorite jobs ever that CHS have been able to do. The same house, right? This is up in Ward 9, right, in the City of Cleveland, Ward 9, near East 72nd Street and the Shoreway. This house came to us. She wanted some work done in her bathroom, and we were able to do that as well. But we started off, with some exterior repairs to, correct some code violations, and then, further we went inside to help a bathroom that wasn't functioning to come back to where this lady was able to age in her home. So that was a valuable job for us as well. One of the stories I tell about, bathroom remodels, oftentimes seniors will find themselves needing to rely on family members to actually bathe them. And so, when you can give a senior, her dignity back, where her daughter doesn't need to bathe her any longer, it's a big deal, right? And that can be accomplished sometimes, with a walk-in shower in the home. So we were able to do a job or two like that. And kitchens, sometimes, not often, but when cabinets are falling apart and floors are needing to be structurally repaired and more than certainly cosmetically repaired, you know, we'll spring into action right again. We don't want our seniors to slip and hurt themselves, right, as they navigate through their homes. So oftentimes those floor repairs are valuable repairs to do. And roofs seem to be our most called for repairs. We did some of that with this ARPA money. You know, you allowed us to do some additional repairs on top of the original grant, and those referrals that we got from another nonprofit were able to be accomplished through, you know, through those dollars that we talked about. This is one of my favorites. This lady also lives in Glenville. This job is just wrapping up. It's today. It's wrapping up, and so another situation where she needed more than just a porch and more than just a roof. She needed both. And again, if you couldn't do one, you couldn't do the other. We did have to get special permission from the City of Cleveland Building Department to be able to not replace the roof over the porch, because that would have made the project cost prohibitive, but we were able to get that waiver. So oftentimes we will do multiple repairs. Sometimes, you know, there's a roof that needs to be done, but if you do the roof, but you don't go in and you give them a toilet that flushes, then why would you do the roof, right? So let's try and be holistic about giving folks the opportunity to age in place. And oftentimes when, you know, the roof needs to be replaced, there have been some interior damage done, and through these dollars, we've been able to go inside and actually do some other repairs after, you know, the original roof replacement happened.
So in this particular slide, Mr. Carney, what was done? Because the after picture doesn't look like a finished product.
I don't have a complete answer for you. I'll get you that information though. Sometimes there's, you know, seniors don't want to give up the tub. You know, we may have wanted to put in a walk-in shower there, but, you know, they're reluctant to do that. They just like to get in, you know, they want to splash in the tub. And so, you know, who are we to take that away from them? But oftentimes, you know, I encourage seniors to take a look down the road just a little bit, and you know, and don't think about just exactly where you are today, but, you know, where are you heading? And is that something that you want to do? Here's a, not necessarily a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but an opportunity that doesn't come along very often, so. But clearly this person wanted to keep their tub. Struggling to advance.
I believe that's your last slide.
Great, great. So know that we assisted 41 homes, and with that we we spent the $700,000 that you gave us. We did another 12 homes with the second tranche of $80,000. And we also brought $330,000 of additional funding from the City of Cleveland, the Federal Home Loan Bank, the State of Ohio, wherever else we could, grab dollars to, to help those individuals. I didn't want to do it just with your money, and I promised you that we'd do a little bit more. So I think we've kept our word along those lines.
Thank you. And so, can you speak to the other agencies you collaborated with?
So in some cases, we'd collaborate with the Cleveland, or CHN Housing Partners, formerly Cleveland Housing Network. So when we'd go in to do a bathroom, for example, and the plumbing was an issue. If we needed $5,000 of plumbing money, oftentimes we could collaborate with them through their water and sewer programs that they have. We take referrals from Councilman Conwell, for example, and other council people from the City of Cleveland, the city's Department of Aging, and oftentimes more than just referrals, it's places where we've done work in the past that we left thinking, gosh, I wish we really could have done that other thing too, right? So we may sneak back and complete an additional repair that we wish we could have done the first time we were there. And we get referrals from United Way. And folks don't necessarily need people to advocate on their behalf. Sometimes they call themselves. Certainly we get a lot of phone calls of individuals looking for help.
All right.
So
Thank you. So for those that may be watching or listening, funds are all gone. I drafted a program with the Department of Senior and Adult Services, and they helped facilitate it with community housing solutions, which seniors needed repairs in their homes because they work closely with those individuals on a daily basis. So they had better knowledge of who was in need and who would help remain and stay in place in their homes. So it sounds like
that's really good information. So know that the team at Adult Protective Services was very helpful. That Cynthia Mason was terrific. Natasha Petricola, right, is certainly terrific at what she does, and they just have the most compassionate hearts. So it was great to partner with them. So thanks for requiring that. It was a good warm handoff that we would always get there, and it's especially important. So those social workers that go out to those homes, right, it hurts their hearts sometimes because they go without lots of tools in their bag, right, lots of resources in order to help folks. So I'd encourage you to find things like this from time to time so that they've got something that they can go in and, ask for repairs with. I mean, we're happy to help them from time to time. And, as I've told you, right, if there's something that's tugging on your heartstrings and you'd like to see help for somebody, give me a call.
Definitely, hopefully, one of my plans, that they would see how effective this program could be. And I think the current administration is working toward housing issues in various different realms. So it sounds like could be a marriage down the road.
That's terrific. Last year we were fortunate to be able to complete $5.6 million worth of home repairs. That's contractor invoices for the last calendar year, and those are numbers that are unheard of in the circle that I travel in. So that was a good year, and money from the county made that possible from yourself, as well as some CDBG funds that we got last year from the Department of Community Development.
Yeah, this county council has been very determined in assisting individuals with homes when we were all faced with the predatory lending and all the abandoned homes and things of that nature. We stepped up and got all those homes tore down, so the existing homeowners wouldn't have, but then you still, now we're in another era where actually the seniors would like to age in place and they need some help.
Yes.
So, thank you, and thank you to your organization for the willingness to work with our Department of Senior and Adult Services as well as the Department on
Thank you.
Aging. And
Thank you so much for the opportunity to do that. We appreciate you so much.
I win the lottery, you'll see a lot more of me.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Any questions from my colleagues? Basically, just a report of what was going on. Thank you again, Roger. All right. Moving on. Madam Clerk, I don't see, item B, is it back on the agenda, or we're still omitting that one?
Item B is being held.
Okay. All right, if you can read the first item into the record.
Resolution 2024-0131, awarding a total sum not to exceed $25,000 to Front Steps Housing and Services Incorporated for the purpose of a sustaining stability project from the District 3 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
I am Sherry Brandon, CEO of Front Steps Housing and Services, and my two bodyguards here are going to introduce themselves first.
I am Matthew Anderson, Development Director at Front Steps.
David Gredick, COO.
So it's an honor to stand before you, County Councilwoman Yvonne Conwell and County Councilman Marty Sweeney, who is absent today. It's an honor to stand before you because I have been servicing Front Steps for 22 years. It has been an arduous journey, but yet a joyful journey to see the strides that the organization has taken over the years to service our community in multiple ways. Front Steps evolved from transitional housing, which started as a result of a crisis in the world, I should say, and in our community. And it was the rise of homelessness amongst women in the community. And so that's how transitional housing started. And then and we did some wonderful work under that model. And then in 2014, again, we stepped to the call of the need to service individuals who were chronically homeless. And so we expanded our services and we opened our doors and we were flexible to provide that service. And in 2020, we built a new facility, 68-bedroom apartments for affordable housing to service the chronic homeless individuals in Cuyahoga County. And so many people know us as permanent supportive housing or a housing project. They really don't know us as a behavioral health service organization and a community service organization servicing individuals who may not have been diagnosed as having a mental health, but families who need ancillary services, families who need stability services. And so we're here today to really talk about a project that we have been working on, and it's called Sustaining Stability. It's a sustaining stability program. And so Front Steps Services service, again, both the community as well as permanent supportive housing. And so what we've seen in our in our community, I don't know why I keep saying a continuum, but what we have seen within our organization, we have a partnership with the county that we have had for 2 years now. And since 2022, we started our program, and we were doing housing stability in the community. And what we've noticed over the 2 years, we've serviced over 500 people. We've discharged 450 people, providing housing stability assessments and then housing stability plans. And one of the things that we've noticed in that is that the community, there's a lot of families in the community that are unstable because they have undiagnosed mental health, untreated mental health. And so we had been starting to see some of that trickling in and out of these families, and fear of really, connecting with big organizations or whatever. And so what we started doing was started engaging them. We started helping them with the basic needs, rental assistance and utility assistance. And we have provided, or we have been able to access more than $50,000. And I think it could be a lot more than that for families in the community to maintain their housing. And then we saw that there were so many other needs. We found families living in cars. We found families living in abandoned buildings sometimes. And we would help one family, and then that same family would say, well, I have somebody that's living in a building somewhere and they need your help. And so we was just servicing individuals in that way. And then we started partnering with the Governor of Faith-Based and Community Initiative to work with TANF families, and we found the same thing. We found that there was a lot of families who was unable to care for their rents, and then they had a lot of utility assistance, and then just personal needs that they would need, household supplies. And so again, and as a permanent supportive housing provider, we have a segment of individuals in our project as well as in the community who cannot maintain housing. They have a lot of evictable offenses, but then we realized it had a lot to do with aging in place. It has a lot to do with just not wanting services, but when we found that we can meet the basic needs, we can tailor projects and programs around their needs, then we can help them to sustainability, because that's what permanent supportive housing is all about. It's about sustaining a person and not for them not to go back into homelessness. And the same thing we do in the community, keeping families in their homes so that they're not evicted, so that they're not back in shelter situations or living on the street. We work very well with landlords in the community as well. And so this project proposes to work with segments of those individuals that are very hard to reach, and then just taking our time and bringing some critical time intervention strategies, some emotional intelligence strategies. That is a strategy that we don't use a lot. We use a lot of motivational interviewing, which is a fine strategy, but bringing that whole emotional intelligence piece into the picture. And that's all about how we communicate with the clients that we serve, and how we bring that educational component and allowing them to realize how they show up in the world and what self-awareness and how to communicate with those in the external world or beyond their scope of care. And so that is what this project is. When you look at building rapport is not 15 minutes. 15 minutes you came to my organization and I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes and then I'm going to go into a full assessment. Building rapport takes time. And often those individuals who are not able to have trust factors, and so they're not going to come to you for services. You have to make sure that you take the time to build that out. And in order to build that out, you have to have the capacity and the staffing level to be able to meet with individuals, maybe a 3-on-1 or a 5-on-1, whatever the conditions may be. And so we found that works very well for us. And the other part of it is condensing a treatment plan. Looking at treatment for individuals who are hard to reach may not always be behavioral health. It could be a housing plan. And one of the things that we notice is that cognitively and physically, some people are just not able to maintain housing, but they want to stay in their home. So they hide a lot of things from the provider so that, they can maintain their housing. And then, of course, life skills. Making sure that there's someone there to help with the life skills. The daily ADL skills are lacking. And so that is what this project is about. We just launched another project. It is called Encompass. That's our expansion project, and it is to work with dual diagnosed individuals in SUD and mental health services. We also do peer support, and I think I'm going to have David to say a few things.
David, state your last name
Hi.
again for me.
David Gredick. Thank you. So the Encompass program is a full spectrum behavioral health program. It's we are aiming for integrated dual diagnosis treatment. By full spectrum, I mean that we bring individuals in through a biopsychosocial assessment and introduce them at that point to services which include intensive outpatient treatment for SUD, substance use disorder, also non-intensive outpatient treatment. We have individual counseling for SUD and also for mental health conditions, and also the full behavioral health spectrum. So persons who are dually disordered, which is a combination of a mental health condition along with a substance use disorder condition. Peer recovery support is a word I think that the behavioral health community has latched onto within the last decade or so, and so that's commonly understood to be peer support, meaning individuals with lived experience who provide assistance to other individuals who are in recovery to help them learn how to recover. Recovery is new for some people. They're like, I've also heard the term recovery guide, which is not necessarily what they do, but they're certified individuals by the state of Ohio. We also have case management and the services, so we have a full, kind of a holistic spectrum of services. We also provide connection to behavioral health care by way of psychiatry and medication maintenance.
Additionally, as David was saying, we also, in working with families to help them maintain and stay stable, we work with landlords. We have an eviction prevention project that is kind of unique in terms of helping families to maintain and building a relationship with landlords and families, and then landlords and organizations. Trust is the key factor in doing what you say you're going to do. And I always say that if it's going to be, it's up to me. And so making sure that we are have a good, long-standing relationship with landlords in the community. They're calling us for services for individuals that they are ready to evict, but because of us, they have not evicted them. We have housed a lot of people in this community, and that's something that we have done since 1986. So we know how to house people, we know how to help individuals stay housed, and we also know how to connect with our community, in which that is what Matthew does so well.
Yeah. So I can just wrap this up by saying, I always say when I go out to the community that Front Steps, we're all grown up. We have 40 years of being in the housing space. These funds will help us kind of break away and just kind of concentrate on behavioral health, so we can, help those folks get on the right path of self-sufficiency.
In terms of how will you keep the stats on that, Matt?
Well, I think David can speak to this. I'm kind of the money man and the
okay.
community engagement guy. So.
Lifeline.
Yeah, good.
The question again?
Okay, this is the stats. How do you plan on keeping the stats of, it seems like a great program in terms of behavioral, how you're helping with that?
Oh, certainly. Certainly a big component of what we do for statistics keeping is based in our electronic health record. We are currently acquiring a behavioral health record that has an exceptional, just an exceptional library of statistics that we can keep, and also statistics that we can self-identify. And by using that, we can pull out discrete components of an individual's case record down to really granular levels. So zip code could be one of them, age, all your demographic statuses. Also, the EHR includes a number of different measures, biopsychosocial measures, measures for depression, et cetera, and we can see changes over time in the treatment protocol. So, for example, we see an individual for 3 months, 4 months, and they get a PHQ assessment, and we can see over time how that we've actually made a change in their status.
Additionally, the electronic health record system that we have chosen also allows us to do non-behavioral health tracking as well, because we do have a non-behavioral health program. And so we're able to enter data for that as well. And it's all customized to the needs of our organization. So we do both behavioral health and community supports as well. Because that was the one thing we was concerned about, is like, we need to keep this data. We need to, and move away from the antiquated papers, which I like paper still, and my staff say, Ms. Brandon, when are you gonna let that paper go? When I find a solution up here. We're able to do that as well. And like David said, one of the things that we notice is just looking at zip codes and see where the concentrated areas are, where there's a greater need, because as we do that, then we can expand our services quite a bit more. And as we always say, from our front steps to your front door is our mission. That's our vision.
In terms of, I think you spoke something earlier about, I think it was directly related to the Sustain and Stability Project. Are you in collaboration with the diversion program, the county's diversion?
We are not. We are starting to have conversations with the reentry community. We have not thought about the diversion program. We do have a relationship with the Adams Board that we work very closely with them, but we have not looked into
Because if
the
a
diversion
family is not managing, that's,
Right.
we've opened it up. It's not just for if you're picked up by a police officer. It's also there to assist families that are, their loved ones might be experiencing something. So that would be, pardon me, I don't know who the executive director of that place is, but I'm sure staff could get you that information.
Yeah, we do have a partnership, and thank you for that. We do have a partnership with Children, what is it? Child Start Program. Start Program, where we are meeting with them, once a month? Once a month, and working with those families? Yeah. You can tell. So we work for Start Families in the community, those who have SUD issues or mental health, and have some court challenges.
And then I guess my
family court.
my final question, and I'll open it up to my colleagues. Do you, you three eloquently spoke about assisting individuals with behavioral health and their mental health. Do you assist any way with the individuals with their med stability?
That is a project that we're looking to add. We have already added a partner to bring in the psychiatric care, and so they will be assisting with medication.
But it's not in place as of yet.
No, when is it, next month?
It's been in the planning stages for months, and we're at the stage where we're going to hammer out the details of bringing them in on site. So we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from incorporating them into the fabric. We've laid the groundwork for it, and so it's imminent.
I'm sure that information will get shared at maybe the OHS advisory board meeting, and just for those that are watching, they host our meetings. What is it, every month or every other month? Yep, so thank you for that. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, and to my colleagues and to the presenters, my colleague Marty Sweeney regrets that he couldn't be here this afternoon, but he wanted me to say a few words on behalf of this program, and I would just say that it's a very well-run and important program that combines housing services and dealing with mental health and addiction, and helps people who are at very high risk find alternative paths to homelessness. And the observation that I would make is that that we've often tried to help people who really weren't in a very good position to help themselves, and it sounds like that a lot of what you're doing is around capacity building and helping people get to the point where they can take care of their own situations more effectively, and for people to have a larger perspective about who they are and how they see the world around them, and what their beliefs are around what's possible in their lives, and I think that we can provide assistance, but people have to do their part, and you're helping to make that possible, and I think it's very important work, and so I commend Councilman Sweeney for bringing this forward, and I'm intending to vote for it. Thank you.
All right, is there anything else either of you three would like to share that you may have missed, or anything that you would like to add?
We will. So, as you know, we service the community. June 8th, we are having a Family Health Fest on site for those families that we have been servicing in the community. We have also seen a large number of refugee families who are in need and have been receiving services from us as well. So we will be sending out information about that. So we're excited about where we're going.
And so it's called June 8th, Family Health Day, or
Family Health Fest.
Fest. All right. I just wanted to let you guys know that all ARPA applications, it's to go 3 readings. So it has to be read 3 times for the public to hear about the programs. So we will pass it out of committee today, and then the staff will keep you updated when it will be on the council agenda, and you can come out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
I would add that the second reading is projected for May the 14th, and the final passage for May the 28th, if all goes well.
Right.
And Madam Chair,
Make a motion?
I will make a motion to refer Resolution 2024-0131 favorably to the full council for second reading.
Second.
All right, moved by Miller, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2024, 0134 is being held. Resolution 2024-0167, authorizing an amendment with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry for operations and case management services for a 400-bed men's emergency shelter located at 2100 Lakeside Avenue, Cleveland, and for facilitation and coordination of overflow shelter services for single adults and families at various locations for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024, to expand the scope of services and change the terms, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $4,350,000, effective upon contract signature of all parties.
All right, thank you. Please state your name for the record, and can you let us know if this item, as well as the next, can go 3 readings, or if you're requesting second reading suspension?
Madam Chair, David Merriman on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm going to cede the presentation to Melissa Sarek, Director of Homeless Services, in a second here. First, I do want to start by recognizing that neither Simeon Best nor Natasha Petricola could be here for the two great presentations earlier today. I'll be bringing the information back to them. I really appreciate you inviting us and including those two speakers in today's agenda. They were very informative. As to both of the items, both the Lutheran Metro Ministry contract as well as the following Eden contract, these are really critical services, and I just want to acknowledge both organizations for their great work and support these items coming forward. But I want to invite Melissa up to get into the detail of both items.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Melissa Surak, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this amendment with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. LMM operates the emergency shelter for single adult men located at 2100 as well as 2020 Lakeside Avenue. The shelter is staffed 24/7 and is open 365 days a year. In addition to basic shelter services, residents of the shelter receive individualized assessment and placement upon shelter entry, case management and housing planning, benefits enrollment, workforce and legal support, as well as healthcare linkages, including substance abuse treatment. LMM also facilitates the provision of overflow shelter services for single adults and families in partnership with community providers. The contract scope is being updated to include 1 to 1 1/4 FTE from Family Overflow Case Manager. This position provides intensive case management and support to families currently in overflow and promotes rapid housing placement, rehousing, diversion, and self-resolution. Lastly, acknowledging this is an amendment, I wanted to note that OHS is working on a procurement for overall shelter services that will be forthcoming later this year for overall all of Cuyahoga County shelter operations. With me today, I have Maria Fosha, Michael Searing, as well as Aaron Cray to answer any additional questions that you might have.
So to be clear, Director, this, I know you mentioned 2020, but it's not in the wording. These funds will be inclusive of that?
So these funds there are additional funds that from the per usual LMM contract, there was an additional $1.5 million incorporated. 2020 Lakeside is currently assisting with absorbing the overflow. So that is how it's included in the scope and contract of services. And we are watching the budget closely as we go throughout the year, knowing that we've only operated it for 1 month to make adjustments as we go along.
Would any of you like to share, add anything?
Good afternoon, Council. Maria Fosha, President and CEO of Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. Thank you so much for consideration of this resolution. I have our experts here in Michael Searing, VP, and Aaron Cray, our Associate Director. So I'm going to defer to them, but just want to extend my thanks for consideration for this.
Mr. Searing, where was the location utilized before for the overflow?
The single male overflow was previously at our partner St. Paul's Church on the near west side, and we're just so pleased with our new building that we don't need that overflow anymore. 2020 is awesome and more than enough.
So you discontinued the contract with St. Paul's?
We still have it through this year, and we've been working with Director Surak on if any of the continuum partners might need it, we could still utilize it. We weren't comfortable giving it up just yet, but so we're glad to have kind of safety net to the safety net.
How is the new addition working out?
2020 is fantastic. I wanted to share a couple points here. Thanks to the committee for attending the ribbon cutting on March 5th. And as planned, we opened 2020 on that Monday, as we're saying, kind of like as an overflow. And it received a standing ovation from our gentleman, which is rare and awesome, I would say. Next in our progression, on April 16th, the corridor between the two buildings opened, and and so our people could come after dinner to the building without going outside and going around. Just as of this Monday, we've had our guys check in at 2100 at 3 o'clock and go directly into their beds in 2020. And then the kind of final phase that we're working on is when all services will come via 2020. That'll be the main entrance and exit of, say, the campus, if you will. And we're looking forward to that. We're in process of staffing up, and we have baggage scanner and new metal detector on the way. So that's when we'll be able to be really all in.
Okay, so there will be a door or opening from 2020 they'll be able to access?
Yeah, that'll be the main entry and exit. It's way bigger, and then the we call it the monitoring station. The monitoring desk is big, open. It's more like a nice lobby feel versus at 2100. It's kind of really narrow and congested.
So you're going to
coming through.
switch?
Yeah,
Okay,
2020
that's what
will
I
be
wanted to be clear.
the sole entrance to both buildings.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller?
Yes. So, is the capacity 400?
The capacity is actually higher now. It's I would say 452 with the new building. The math's a little complicated. We did lose some beds from 2100 because of the corridor, but other than that, we're adding 113 additional beds. So we are hoping not to need that maximum capacity, but that's what's enabling us to not need the overflow.
And what's the current population?
Currently, we are at about 340 people. So we're, I think it was about at 75%. So we're in good shape.
And are there plans to renovate and upgrade the original facilities?
Yes, that is the next phase. We're really excited. Just had some additional planning meetings with Director Sirak and Merriman on that. As you all may recall, there were ARPA dollars set aside for the 2100 renovation. So now that 2020 is completed, that's the next phase with a goal to try to replicate as much as possible really the look and feel of 2100, which everyone appreciates.
And will the capacity change or remain the same?
The capacity, it'll remain the same. We are looking at trying to figure out a little bit of kind of like a flex space model, because we wouldn't want to dedicate all of the space for the maximum number, which we rarely use, but we don't want to give up that number. So we're trying to figure out, like, 350 days of the year, maybe we only need 380 or 400, but how do we handle that influx? It's basically handling the overflow numbers on site. Yes, but we don't want to ultimately lose capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Turner?
I just had a quick question about access to internet. It is free, right?
Yes.
You haven't had any issues with people getting kicked out. The capacity is there for.
Yeah. We this originated as a partnership with Digital C probably 10 years ago, where we had free internet come to our people. The first day that we turned it on, I believe we had about, I think it was like 180 people use it. So people with their phones, with their tablets, doing job searches and everything else. Since then, when LMM upgraded our overall technology to the building, we're able to just have the residents use our Wi-Fi service.
Okay.
But it is free to the residents.
Do they have access to any type of computers or laptops in any of your facilities?
Yeah, definitely. So we do have a computer lab, which is really nice. It was redone with some donor money, and we have volunteers from the community come and help people. Some people don't have an email, have never used the internet. So it's nice that we have some volunteers help with that. We also have computer laptop carts, so people can kind of borrow a laptop throughout the shelter if they're not specifically going to the computer lab.
And they don't have to leave there every day, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
My final follow-up question would be, do you have housing navigators? So I know you said currently there's 340 currently in there. We have a capacity of 450, but we want to always be moving them out. So could you speak a little to your housing navigators or how you assist individuals to move on?
Definitely. And let me ask Erin Cray. She oversees our, we refer to them as like the programming staff. That's really the housing case management. I'll ask Erin to speak to that.
Hi, I'm Erin Cray, the Associate Director, LMM. So we have a couple different types of housing navigators. So we do use the title program coordinator, community coordinator. And so there's different staff specialties who may focus mostly on permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and so the available COC interventions. And then we also have staff who really focus on working with clients getting into substance use treatment if that's what they're interested in, or some of the former transitional housing locations that are part of the continuum, like the PASS program, North Point. And then we also have been using a new staff role called the Rental Partner Coordinator, whose job is to explicitly work with property owners in the community to try and develop new rental partnerships. And so they find the units, and then our program staff will link, hey, we've got a client for the unit that you found. So that seems to be having a lot of success. Last year, I believe we housed 500 people with positive housing, 541 positive housing outcomes.
Okay. Is there a length of stay? Can you share with us the length of stay an average person might stay?
Yeah, well, for 2023, it was 42 days.
In terms of age, and I'm going from my thoughts from Norma Herr. There's kind of a high rate in seniors, females. What is your rate of senior males?
I don't have that exact data right now. I can get that for you. We do know that it is climbing. The average age is likely in 50s.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? All right. Director Sirak, is this a second reading suspension request?
Yes, please. I think we submitted it as hopefully effective upon execution. And Councilwoman, may I add just one piece to the housing navigation? LMM does an outstanding job in housing individuals. As you know, we still continue to struggle as a community. And our office over the last year has engaged with consultants and the Continuum on a coordinated entry redesign, and we're about to wrap that process up. And during that process, we received an additional HUD coordinated entry expansion grant, and part of that was housing navigators to add 4 additional to the system. So recognizing even though the housing stock, is more challenging right now, we are working on getting those navigators in place that will further assist all of the shelters. And then the end result of coordinated entry will also probably be more of a mobile component as well. We're working towards that procurement. That'll be forthcoming this year as well. But it's with more of a housing focus and more of a diversion focus throughout the whole entry of shelter to housing process. So I just wanted to note that as well.
Just to add that LMM also works on the other end of trying to create the housing. Mm-hmm. So you're all around one-stop shop, and we thank you for that. So without further ado, I'll make a motion to move R2024-0167 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Through the chair, would you please add my name?
Yes. Madam Clerk, if you could add mine as well as Councilwoman Turner's name and Miller.
Resolution 2024-0168, authorizing an amendment with Emerald Development and Economic Network Incorporated for rapid rehousing and housing stabilization services for the period January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2025, to change the terms and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,985,300, effective upon contract signature of all parties.
Good afternoon, Melissa Surack, Director of the Office of Homeless Services again. The Cuyahoga County requesting an amendment with Emerald Development and Economic Network, Inc. The Cuyahoga County Homeless Continuum of Care is committed to a low-barrier, housing-first model to ensure homelessness is rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. Rapid rehousing swiftly connects individuals and families experiencing homelessness to housing with minimal barriers. This approach provides tailored services and time-limited financial support, focusing on overcoming immediate obstacles to securing permanent housing, reducing homelessness duration, preventing recurrent homelessness, and promoting long-term housing stability. Rapid rehousing employs a progressive engagement model, starting with minimal assistance and increasing support as needs arise. Key components in Cuyahoga County include landlord recruitment, housing location, inspections, rent assessments, and subsidies for up to 12 months, along with continuous support for program participants. Eden is the designated rapid rehousing provider for the COC. This funding will allow Eden to continue to expedite the transition from homelessness to housing for individuals and families across Cuyahoga County. With me today, I have Emma Petrie Barcelona, as well as Jesse Beck, to answer any additional questions.
If you two ladies could state your name and your positions, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Emma Petrie Barcelona, the Chief Operating Officer with Eden.
Good afternoon. Jesse Beck, Director of Rental Assistance with Eden.
Any questions from my colleagues? Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, to Eden, my question is whether there is enough affordable housing out there that everyone who's coming out of homelessness can access housing in a somewhat reasonable length of time, or are there some people who are ready to move but are just sitting for months and months because there really isn't any housing available?
Council member, I'll start, and Ms. Beck might add some things. Right now, indeed, in Cuyahoga County, in the Cleveland area, there is an affordable housing crisis in that there are not enough units available for all the people that need them, and that would include persons who are referred to the rapid rehousing program and rental assistance. That said, as Ms. Surack mentioned, this program includes housing location services, and so for households referred to this program and are actively participating in their housing search with those locators, we are able to find housing and meet those households or those families' needs and get them housed. Every once in a while, there is a household that's referred who does not achieve housing, but more often than not, it's because there's other things going on in their lives that just where housing just isn't the focus. But the search is taking longer, and the rents are absolutely much higher than they have been in the past.
The only other challenge with this specific program is we have to remain so close to the FMR, which does not put us at times in a competitive situation with the rental amounts that we're seeing requested by property owners within the community.
FMR stands for?
Sorry, fair market rent, established by HUD, and we are required under a lot of our funding to follow that amount. Or to not exceed it, I should say.
So, can you give examples of what typical rents are that are available in the current market?
I think what's hard countywide is that it really depends on the neighborhood that someone selects. So if you're going to the east side of Cleveland, you're going to have a one-bedroom might be 700, 800. If you go out to a higher opportunity area, which is where we want to see our participants going, you're going to see 1,400, 1,200, depending between a 1 and 2 bedroom. So it really varies on where somebody chooses to live within our continuum.
Any other questions, Councilman?
I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, so, go ahead.
I just got to add one thing that I'm discouraged by the idea that you don't want people to move into the east side of Cleveland. You know, we want to get the east side of Cleveland so it's also an opportunity area, and that's my one concern about that.
And I completely agree with that. I mean, I wish that our participants could go so broadly and that it would include some of the areas where they're currently finding the affordable rents that would give them those opportunities. And we just haven't seen movement or shift to indicate that that is changing at all right now. And so they're almost stuck in a way looking in certain neighborhoods because that is what they can afford. That's what we can, the maximum that we can pay within our program restrictions.
So, Director, is this particular money goes toward assisting with the rents? Okay. So doesn't that, Ms. Beck, doesn't that help, or doesn't these funds assist with maybe broadening the areas or the locations that individuals can stay in?
They absolutely can. Because again, we're often capped at the fair market rent, which is often lower established by HUD than what we're actually seeing in the community.
So when
we may not be able to.
When you say capped at,
Like, we
does that
can't
mean?
go above that.
Okay.
So whatever HUD has established for the Cleveland-Elyria continuum for a one-bedroom apartment or unit, that is an amount we cannot go over. Sometimes under certain grants, we can waive it, but we can't also go above whatever the rent reasonable is that we run through Go Section 8. And so it can limit the amount that we can pay on a specific unit. We just can't go above it. What it will allow, the continued funding, is for us to serve more households and continue to serve the households that we have, because that has also been a challenge for us in the current climate with the current funding to just maintain the level of service that we want to provide for this community. Yeah, and 12 months of assistance, as Ms. Thirak pointed out, is critical in order to continue to engage the property owners in working with this program. We don't see as much interest, I should say, if we approach and say, well, we can pay 6 months of subsidy. They are much more willing to work with us if they know that we can pay a full 12 months. And it allows the family to stabilize as well, I think.
So are you moving into that kind of shared model of being able to extend the rapid rehousing? It's a good program, but my concern is sustainability, long-term of it. So how are you working with moving those individuals that we are giving rapid or can afford right now rapid rehousing dollars to get them sustainable on their own feet?
So there's a couple ways that we address this. First, indeed, the program is only 12 months of assistance, but there is monthly and weekly case management during that time to really work with those household needs. While a goal is that a household would be self-sustaining after the end of that 12 months, the reality, given the traumas and other experiences the households have had, that might not be for everybody. So a few things that we do. We have been very successful the past 2 years working with CMHA and their emergency housing vouchers, where households who do need a long-term subsidy have been able to be referred to CMHA, and they then from an ongoing basis, receive access to housing subsidy. At times when Eden has availability on our long-term housing programs, very similar to CMHA's but different, we will likewise refer people to those programs too if they need it. But at the end of the day, between EHVs are now ending, and there isn't much room on our long-term housing programs, which means we're really dependent on that 12 months of intense case management to really do the best they can with the households to meet their needs.
I would thank you for that. And I would just add that there is a gap, a literal financial gap here in providing rapid housing assistance, which is why this contract's so important. But we're not unique to this. I think it's important to know that as I have conversations with other continuums nationwide, they've all experienced, we were one of the latter groups though, the dropout from the CARES dollars that came in and the influx of funding that we had, and they all chose to, of course, manage post-COVID in a different way. And one of the changes we did make was extending the assistance from 3 to 6 months to 12 months, landlord recruitment, as Emma mentioned, and as well as allowing the client participant longer period of time to get on their feet. We have a policy committee that this runs through, and it's been some interesting conversations because we're working as a continuum to determine how do we move forward. Do we go back to 3 to 6 months? But our continuum has chosen at this point at least to say, we'll continue to look for additional funding, and that 12 months just is really so critical at this point in someone getting stable and maintaining their housing. And lastly, I would just say on our office's standpoint, over the last 4 years, we're doing the best we can to align funding sources with the most appropriate activity. And this contract, I think, is actually a great example because it previously was not just a contract with Eden, and we were able to identify funds to support the other provider that was originally funded by the state. So this whole award is now with Eden to support the criticalness of rapid rehousing. So we continue to look at that and make shifts as necessary.
Thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Director, you would like second reading suspension as well?
Yes, please.
Thought I had a final question. It may come to me. If not, I will.
You know where to find me.
Yeah, I'm really concerned that we're not able to, the sustainability of any program. And I know we get public comment quite frequently in terms of the county's participation in what we do in homeless services. And I just want to commend all the partners, especially the ones that were here today, and what each of you do to get us closer and closer to, I think, all of our goal is to make you stable in whatever housing solution that you choose. And I did want to, because we hear it quite frequently, and it sounds like we don't do enough, but I know that you guys do, and I appreciate it. I'm sure my colleagues appreciate, just from maybe even 5 years ago, the direction that we have moved toward and the programs that we have expanded just for homeless individuals, whether they're single or family or youth. So just wanted to give you kudos and thank you, all that you do. So without further ado, I'll make a motion to move R2024-0168 to the full council under second reading suspension. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Moved by Councilwoman Conwell, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do. And to our community partners as well. And we don't have any presentations because we took care of them at the beginning of the agenda. Is there any miscellaneous business anyone wants to bring up? Anything going on that we need to know?
May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Okay, and Councilwoman Turner has let us know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are advocates. We put a lot of funding toward mental health and the recovery of individuals. So thank you very much for that information. And this